All right. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Thank you for clicking on my video and having a watch today. I'm testing out my microphone because the last two videos I tried to film did not pick up any sound whatsoever. Absolutely gutting, especially as one of them was like 20 minutes long. But anyway, we live and we learn. I'm still very new to this YouTube thing, and I'm really enjoying it. I find it so therapeutic to come on here and speak to you guys. So today I wanted to talk about beauty standards. So I just watched a few videos. Well, over the last week, I've been watching a few videos around kind of the patriarchy and infantilization of women, and with everything going on in the media recently, where we have learned, of the sinister things that are happening um, to children and young women and young men, and boys and girls, because does not discriminate. I thought, wow, that's a really interesting take, and I wanted to talk about it. So let's talk about it. So it was kind of looking at the kind of traditional beauty standards, and kind of this idea of the waif thin woman. Generally white woman, generally, cis heteronormative beauty standards of what is feminine and what is not feminine, and kind of how that standard obviously has made certain people feel like they are the beauty standard, and how obviously as time has gone on that has changed. And I really, really think that social media has a big part to play in the change that we are seeing when we consider what people consider to be beautiful or attractive, and when we consider what people are doing, the modifications that people are doing to their bodies, etc., in order to be deemed attractive, right? So there was this idea. What I'm finding is kind of the theme around this discussion is the idea of, white women as a beauty standard, and kind of all other women from the global majority as always having to kind of work towards that standard, if you will. So whether that be lightening skin, hair, thinness, just generally trying to achieve that look. Now, I personally don't think that people have been trying to achieve that standard of beauty for quite a long time, at least a few decades now, and again, throughout time, there have been reasons why people try to acclimatize and maybe will adapt themselves. For example, we know that people are still discriminated against for things such as, the color of their skin, for things such as the texture or style of their hair. Again, even just the way that we dress. Look at how I'm dressed right now. It's very colorful, it's very bold. Some would call this hyperfeminism, but actually it's hyperfeminism, just other people's cultures and other ways of being. That is not the standard of white women. So again, I I had to stop myself. I work in a corporate role within academia, and actually I found myself dressing more and more in blander colors, navies, grays, black, blue. I like to put a bit of brown on. I like brown. I like that because it's like the nude of the dark skinned woman, and I love that. But what I will say is, I've recently started wearing this into work, and it's felt like a whole thing. I had to take it off yesterday. I was like, oh my goodness, it's too bold. It's too bold. And it's just so crazy how we've been conditioned to see something like this, which I always get compliments on whenever I wear it, as somehow not appropriate or unprofessional or not staying in line. Um, it is amazing. What I will say is, as a Black woman, I have finally gotten to a point in my life where I step into that. I realize that is my strength, it's my superpower, my difference, because I often find myself being quite tokenized within white spaces. Um, where when I was younger, that was something that made me feel highly insecure. I understood it was not that I viewed people as certain demographics as the beauty standard, but I understood that that was how they were viewed. I understood that when I was stood next to those people, I was not necessarily the preference, if you will, which, can take a toll on your confidence and can make you insecure. But as you grow into yourself and you find that self-love and that self-acceptance, you kind of almost wake up and you're like, what in the world has been going on? Like, what the actual, right? Because how is it? How is it that I did not realize who I was, my personal features, my personal look, my personal style, me in my Afrocentric nature, completely embodying my skin, my hair color, my textures, braided styles, Afro styles, my natural hair, my curls, my kinks. How is it that I was so brainwashed and so conditioned that there was a time where I was wearing the light contact lenses? My hair was blonde. And I'm not saying anything against anyone who chooses to do that, because I would probably still do that at some point, because I love exploration. I love creativity. I love switching up my style. I just love it so, so much. So I would never judge anyone who just does that from that space of, I love to be creative. I love to explore myself and to just do what feels right to me. But what I will say is, for me, at that time, it was definitely, there were elements of it. One, I looked great, whatever the hair color. I used to love switching up my hair, and I don't do it as much. And even that is rooted in, the idea that, oh, you switched it up because you want to be like me. You want your hair to be like mine. You want my eye color. You want my this, you want my that. When absolutely that is not the case for so, so many people who are explorative with their aesthetics. There were times where I knew that I was perceived differently when I did have those styles. Did I feel that I looked better? Did I think I looked better than I do now? No, I didn't. But I understood that there were other people who may have, or who, and even if they thought I looked better naturally, natural hair tones, all of those things, my own eyes. Um, they also queried and were curious. Again, remember, I was around a lot of white people, as to why. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? But they didn't look at it as a societal structure. They didn't look at it as an institutional or systemic issue within society. They looked at it as an issue in me, my insecurity, my, low self-esteem. Very rarely would it have been considered that I just enjoy aesthetics and I like to switch things up and it's fun. Um, I could always sense that it was kind of, oh, why, what have you done with your eyes? Why have you done that? And I got it. I understood it. And I understand that question. I understand that thought, especially when you are, I suppose, trying to say, well, you look beautiful as you are. You don't need to do this to, but I guess my answer to that is, I can do what I want with my body, with my eyes, with my hair. And that's fundamentally the most important message, right? Now, in my older age, I have chosen very intentionally to, to express myself outwardly in ways that does not erase my blackness, and that is a very intentional choice. I want my daughters to look at me, my daughters, I say, my daughter, I have a daughter and a son, but I want them to look at me and know that mommy was proud of who she was. They are multiracial children, and even at their very young age, they have experienced microaggressions, racism regarding their hair, comments about their hair, and all of these different things. And for me, it is so important that they understand that they are so beautiful and that we are so beautiful as people, in all the different shades that we come in, right? Whether multiracial, Black, whether Black, whatever, brown people, global majority people, we are beautiful, and we have to embrace those things that make us different, those things that take us away from the beauty standard, even though a lot of this debate and kind of conversation online was about how actually, you know, are Black people, are Black women the beauty standard, in terms of, again, the modifications that people are making, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't know that I would say one group is the beauty standard, the other is not. I think all women are beautiful. I think all women are beautiful. And I especially think that people are beautiful when they are exactly who they are, when they are just living their authentic selves. That is what makes someone beautiful to me. So I think everybody is a standard of beauty. We should all be our own standards of beauty. But I do feel that there is definitely a change in the wind in terms of media, in terms of what media pushes as attractive. And it always changes. It cycles. We have, thinness is coming back in style. And, there was a time where it was all about, being a curvy girl and, snatched waist, wider hips, larger bottom, all of those kinds of things. And I don't think that's gone away. I think that's, for me, it's here to stay because, as I say, if we embrace ourselves as the standard, then we are the standard and that's it. I don't follow trends. I don't really care what people are doing. But I do care from the perspective of so many young people, young women, young girls, and even young boys in this day and age have these high standards that are not necessarily achievable for them because they are just we're all different, culturally, ethnically, our bodies are different. We're shaped differently. We all look different, and we have to embrace that because it is beautiful. Diversity is beautiful, you know, big, tall, short, fat, small, whatever you want to call it. It all has its space. It's all beautiful because human beings, if we allow ourselves to be, if we treat each other with compassion and kindness, we have the ability to be so beautiful. So I guess my message today is just be you, embrace yourself, wear the very colorful, bright outfit that you think I have no business wearing. I have no business wearing this in my academic job in this office where I'm the tokenized Black person and I already stand out and people already look at me like I'm an alien. I already feel like I am a new species coming to a completely new planet. Don't let that dim who you naturally are, is what I'm saying. And I'm trying to slowly but surely um, find myself and who I want to be in that space without making myself invisible. I think if someone was to see me talking on a video here, they might think, oh my God, she talks. And that's so interesting to me because I've realized how much I do, you know, I dim myself in that space. And that is because, again, if we were to say the standard, and I'm not talking about beauty now, but just the standard of human being and individual within that space, it's not me. I'm very much, I keep saying tokenized, but I think I might have to just start saying rare. I'm rare. And I think things that are rare are special and they deserve to be seen and celebrated just like anything else. So, anyway, just remember to be yourself. You are the trend. You are the beauty standard. And that's kind of the message I have for you today. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Like, comment, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this chat and if you want to come back and have similar talks. I usually talk about working within academia, working within corporate, often through the lens of being a Black woman, a neurodivergent woman, very recently diagnosed, so very intersectional experience of life. I'm also a mother, I'm married, and yeah, if this seems like something that is interesting to you, like, comment, and subscribe.